everybody. Welcome to Industry Night with me, Nycci Nellis. Thanks so much for joining me today. A quick little bit about why you're here on Industry Night with me. So I've been covering the DC food, wine, and hospitality scene for like a really long time, 20 years to be exact. You do read the list, areyouonit.com, the online e-zine that tells you about everything happening in the DC metro area. You tune into Foodie and the Beast, DC's only food and wine variety show, every Sunday at 11 a.m. on 1500. Of course, downloadable as a podcast. Of course, you check me out here on Industry Night and social at NYCCI NELLIS, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and all those other social media channels. And if you haven't noticed, I am around town lately, emceeing things, judging things, lots of fun things coming on, and possibly some TV stuff soon. I will keep you posted on all of that. So very quickly, here today, we are at the gorgeous Wells. So the Wells is attached to Duck and the Peach and La Colina. Hollis Wells Silverman and her team have this massive, gorgeous restaurant and bar and restaurant complex. And Napa Valley Vintners is here today because they're doing a wine tasting for trade. And they are letting me use this room while they're all pouring their wine. And so here's what happened. My good friend Julia Coney is in town, and I was like, girl, while you're here, I'm going to have to interview you. But before I tell everybody why she's so fabulous, I'm going to tell you quickly about where I've been and what I've been doing. So normally I take you on a whole DC tour because that's where I've been and what I've been doing, except I was just in New York. So very quickly, I did go up to Brooklyn because I had to check out the Terry Mugler exhibit. It's at the Brooklyn Museum. It's got a couple more weeks left. If you are a fashion devotee, you need to see this. It is magnificent. There's also a ton of Hamlet Lang photos, which I'm a major fan of. So totally worth checking out. I did have dinner at Leland Eating and Drinking House. Such a darling little place. It's so Brooklyn. It's like Portlandia and Brooklyn had a baby together. The food is really lovely. Gorgeous little wine list. It's exactly what you want in a neighborhood in Brooklyn. Next day, lunch at Le Cuckoo. You know, Steven Starr rocks it out like nobody else at that space. I had amazing Chablis, which I'm going to butcher. I'm going to try to say it correctly. It's Alice et Olivier de Moore Le Vendiger Masque. Whatever. It was a Chablis. It was delicious, as was the food, which was lobster and leeks and duck and some creamy, yummy chocolate at the end. The service is sublime. And you're right in Soho. So for shoppers, like clothing shoppers, all kinds of shoppers, you definitely want to be in Soho. Got to see Sean Hayes in Goodnight Oscar during previews. An amazing show. If you're not familiar with it, please Google it. Sean Hayes is a concert pianist. You know him from Will and Grace, Just Jack. But he's a concert pianist and he plays Oscar, whose name I can't think of. Why can't I think of his name? Oh, Oscar Levant. He plays Oscar Levant, and who was a concert pianist and also sort of a bon vivant during the 60s. It's a fascinating show. And he does an amazing concerto at the end. So if you have the opportunity, I highly recommend it. Lastly, brunch at Balthazar, because who doesn't want to sit outside on the New York City streets and watch all the people traipse by during brunch? Of course, we had all the pastries. We had bottles of rosé, and some eggs in purgatory, because you have to keep your rosé in the right place or else, you all know what happens there. Okay. So if you want to see more of my New York trip, just go to Instagram. It's all on there. And I have other great pics and advice as well. So on to today's show. So Julia and I go quite a ways back. The first time we met, we were actually at a discussion on champagne. And you walked into the room and you just lit up the place. You have like a light around you, which attracts people to you. Everybody wanted to go over and say hello to you. Now, most of the people there already knew you and I didn't, but then we met and we just clicked. And I'm amazed by you because you're not just only this incredibly talented wine educator, wine journalist, and speaker. You're the recipient of Wine Enthusiast 2020 Social Visionary Award. And you were a beauty blogger. Like you have all these, there's all these crazy parts, but now you were like, you you're at this pinnacle and you created the Black Wine Professionals list, which is, I think, the last time I had you on the show when you created that and what that is and what that means. Lastly, you and I most recently were on a trip to Israel with Reality Israel, which was a life-changing.
Still in awe of that trip.
Right. Life-changing event. I'd love to go down a rabbit hole with you on that. But I kind of want to start with you. Like, for people who don't know you, can we just get a little background? Like, how did you go from this beauty blogger to wine?
So wine is actually my third career.
Okay, cheers first.
Oh, cheers.
Salud, my love.
Salud.
Thank you.
Wine is my third career. So when I was 26 years old, I was a legal assistant, and the attorney I worked with had just been in Napa, California. So this is 1999.
Okay.
So this is a long time ago. This wasn't as big a wine scene as we know. And he had a barbecue at his house, and he was pairing Opus One, Caymus, Clos d'Aval wines with Texas brisket.
Okay, so we're starting really low.
We're
starting really low.
But I've been drinking margaritas. So I went from margaritas to these high, nice wines. And I was just, fascinated, like most people who discover wines. And my family doesn't drink. So I was, how do you get the cherries in the wine? Where is this coming from? And he just started bringing me wine magazines. He brought the Robert Parker Report, which is a physical paper, physical report back then. And I just devoured it. I started drinking wine, going to the, the wine store and following whatever Bob told me to drink. I bought. and then from there, I moved to DC. A few years later, I was still a legal assistant, and working in DC, I worked in technology. So I worked with the International Trade Commission, and I went to a thing at Howard University.
But I was going to say, in DC. There's so much wine.
But in 2005.
At events.
But in 2005.
Oh, was it shit wine?
It wasn't shit wine. It's just DC wasn't, the food scene wasn't the same what it is now. I mean, it was there.
Okay,
but,
go ahead.
Right. And somebody told me I should start a beauty blog because she was a beauty editor at Elle magazine, and she asked me what I did for my skin.
Because your skin is radiant.
And I said, I go to Paris every year and get a facial. And she just started laughing. She went, you need a beauty blog. And I started writing as I was a legal assistant about all the shopping and the facialists that I was spending time with, every makeup artist that I would meet. As a consumer, I wasn't working in the business. I didn't even think about beauty. I wasn't thinking about a wine job. I loved my legal job.
Okay.
I really did. I loved it. And that started in 2006. And eventually the beauty job was passing the legal job. And not just enjoy it was just like, I think I could do this full time. And so I took a gamble.
You could make a living off of it.
I could make a living off
free product is one thing. You can't live off a free product.
You can't live off free product.
Right.
And so in 2010 I quit my legal job to try to be a beauty writer, and I did that. And so I was in beauty for 10 years. And after 10 years I was like, what do I want to do when I'm 50? That's what I kept thinking. I was 43 and I said, what do I want to do when I was 50? And my mother was living in, she was like, please do something in wine because this house is full of it.
Yeah, if you do something in wine, there's going to be more of it. Hello.
And I decided to start a wine blog and to start wine writing and freelancing and pitching stories. And the wine industry that I thought I was entering wasn't the same as what was happening.
Well, if I can, as a woman of color,
yes,
there was not a lot of women of color writing about wine.
Not writing. The only one was Dorothy Gator.
Okay, that makes sense.
Of the Wall Street Journal at that,
yes,
and from the 90s at that time.
Right. But I mean, there are also, women were not, even in the early 2000s, prevalent in making wine. I mean, I think a lot of women winemakers and women wine journalists were kind of pushed to the back because they weren't given the same sort of value.
Exactly.
So how'd you hustle your way in?
Because I'm a hustler.
I know
That's the thing. I kept thinking, if I learn everything, and I don't mean just studying for certifications, if I really study wine, the craft of wine, interviewing winemakers, sometimes you have to put in the work and you have to use your own money. So I was using my own money to really like, okay, I want to come visit you. I want to talk to you.
You just didn't give away like beauty masks and stuff like that?
No, I wish I could have. But that helped me hone and hustle and, do reporting, take journalism classes, really look at it as a craft. And I think in 2016, when I did that, wine was at this cusp, right? It was a cusp of women. It was if you go back to 2016, the natural wine movement was changing things.
Right.
So everything was happening in wine. And I was like, I want to be a part of this.
Okay.
And so for me, I didn't see myself in wine the way I thought I had in my head as a consumer, now that I was entering the business.
So how did you see yourself?
I saw myself as a wine journalist.
Okay.
But the rest of the...
But now you're a wine activist and a journalist.
Exactly. And so the wine journalist became a wine activist.
So for those who don't understand what that means, let's talk about what that means. Because you are writing about wine.
I'm writing about wine.
People want you to write about wine.
They want me to write about wine.
Yes.
But I had a winemaker tell me he didn't expect me to be Black when I went to interview him.
Oh my God. People don't know how to keep their mouths shut.
And I said, well, can I curse on here?
Yeah.
I said, oh, well, I didn't expect you to be an asshole, but here we are. And so that was the comment. And so then I was just like, oh, I need to really start speaking on my experience, because people were like, what's your experience in wine? And I was like, it's not pleasant.
I'm sorry. Also, go fuck yourself. Like, I mean, to be fair.
Yeah.
I mean, just because you're a Black woman writing about wine doesn't mean you should have to prove what you know about wine.
Exactly.
Considering lots of people consider you an expert.
Well, now they do. This was 2016.
Okay.
2016, 2017, up until 2018, that wasn't a thing.
Okay.
And then I started talking about the issues of racism in the industry in a way no one really had.
And what does that mean? So for people who maybe didn't see that or don't understand what the issues of racism were in the industry, what were you telling? What were the stories?
Well, I was telling the stories of walking into trade tastings and people like, you're in the wrong space. And I would give my name and they're like, oh yeah, you're supposed to be here. It was a perception of what someone looks on the outside as a wine professional. And so now we have, post 2020.
Well, I was going to say, post 2020, but like I think about that room today.
Oh, the room today. Look at
the duck and the peach. Like today. So again,
nice.
Just reminding people we're here today specifically because there is a Napa Valley Vintners trade wine tasting. Over 25 winemakers are pouring their wines. It is so diverse.
Age is diverse. Age. We need to talk like age. It's not all race, right? It's age. Even like
there's super young people, old people,
everyone, colors, shapes,
straight,
size,
gray,
everything,
yes, all of it.
It's amazing. I was speaking to a young lady today at my Chablis event. She was deaf. I mean, how great is that? She feels she's part of the wine industry. That's the beauty of what I do. That's why I'm a wine activist. I mean, I'm a journalist and consultant. But
how open, back in 2016, when you realized how your articles needed to change and how you had to put your personal perspective into it, because that is a huge shift when it comes to writing. How were your pitches received?
They weren't.
Okay.
No one wanted to talk about it. No one really wanted to broach that subject because, it's touchy. Yeah,
it is.
Ageism, sexism, racism is touchy. And I get that. But I wanted them to really listen. And so that's why on my blog, I wrote an open letter to the wine industry and I tagged every person who I thought would repost it, and it went viral. And then it went into the major wine newsletter at the time that had over 2 million readers a day. And I woke up the next day and my inbox was flooded with people like, how can we help?
Oh, I love that.
That's what changed it. It was people, how can I help? What do I need to change? What do I need to do? Let's have a conversation.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
I mean, but in talking my earlier interview today with Teresa Wall of Napa Valley Vintners and the two winemakers, all women, I mean, the changes in the wine industry are, is really apparent. One of the things that we were talking about was how we treat our employees, how we're a part of the community. Sustainability does not just mean how we take care of the earth. It's how we take care of people. Everyone, our community. And that's a shift.
That's a shift.
It's right. I mean, granted, it was all women, and I think that has a lot to do with it, but it is a major shift.
It's a major shift. I think, when we think about when everybody was sitting home during the pandemic, right? And we all saw what happened on TV. We saw George Floyd. We saw what happened. That really changed people. I mean, it changed our industry for the best. I mean, it really did. So we have people have more opportunity.
But that was your impetus to create
Black wine professionals.
So what does that mean for people who don't know what it is? I know what it is, but what does it mean?
For people who it's for people who've already been working in the industry. You have so many people that were never quoted in an article. They were never recognized. You've been on press trips. You know what a press trip is.
Yes.
They've never been on a press trip, but they've been a song for 15 20 years and had never been to a region that they were selling the wine because no one put them on a list. So that's why I do what I do. So that people have access. It's not about me. I know my why. My why is other people.
Right. So you just constantly keep that list updated.
I keep that list updated.
How do you do anything with the list? Like, if media contacts you, right? Do you like make recommendations?
Yes, but here's the thing now. Because of the list, they don't even need to contact me. Oh. If you need a director, you just click on the director link. If you need a retail buyer, if you need an importer, if you need a media person, if you need a podcaster, they're all on the list. They're all updated. That's amazing. So you don't have to even email me. You just literally go on the list.
That is amazing.
Yeah, so the list is always current when people leave jobs or anything. And not right now, we partner with different organizations to get certifications, but also host events like we're doing with this Chablis Scholar Series, where we're going to different cities and we're doing trade tastings. Right. So you're taught by peers who also look like you. So everybody's welcome, though. Everybody's welcome, but these people would never get access to teach these classes.
It's amazing. And actually, I love that it's about your peers working together.
Yes.
Right? To help raise other people's voices.
Yes. I just go and do an intro. I don't teach the class. It's not for me to teach the class. It's for them to teach the class.
That makes all the sense.
And for them to get the check.
So you did the Chablis today. Right.
Yes.
Who taught the class today?
Nadine and Jay.
That makes sense.
I didn't teach the class. I just spoke about the class. I spoke about the partnership and spoke about a trip with me to Chablis that Chablis region is sponsoring through an essay competition. But I didn't lead the class. I'm not leading the classes. It's not for me to lead.
Okay. So that brings me to your trips. Because, girl, you travel.
I do.
So let's talk about, but your wine travel has changed because now you do travel. So let's talk about your wine travel first.
Okay.
And how you're taken to all these areas to taste wine, meet winemakers, and etc. And what you do with that content. And then let's talk about how you now have this whole new travel arm of your business.
Yes.
Okay.
So I go on like media trips to different regions to learn, to meet producers, wine fairs around the world. And that's exciting, right? Because
I know, but let's not be too insider baseball. What does that mean?
That means a region decides to send journalists to study, just say, we're studying in Italy, right? You might be in Alto Adige, you might be in Prosecco, right? And you're tasting all these wines to really learn about the wine, to meet the producers, to bring that information back to consumers, to readers. That's what I do. Right. But the beauty of that now is, because I work with American
Airlines.
I'm the wine consultant for American Airlines.
Right.
I'm also able to find different wines that I probably wouldn't be able to find.
Because now you're a buyer, basically.
Yes.
You're not buying, you're not pulling your credit card out.
No, but
you're making the recommendations for the wines.
Yes. Okay. Which is exciting because I get to play around with fun wine. Who doesn't want to do that?
Right.
And then I get to see it on a plane. I get to see it in a lounge. And that's very exciting.
Right.
It's always exciting because now people see me and they're like, oh, I had the wine, or I get a DM. I'm on the plane. Did you choose this wine?
Wait, yes. They don't have your picture up there being like, look who picked our wine.
No.
Okay.
No. We're working on it.
I mean, seriously, I think you should be doing that. But anyway, okay. So that's how the media trips. And so you started doing those like what, 2016?
2018. Yes.
But you do a lot of them a year.
I do a lot of them a year.
Okay.
Probably like 6 to 7.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
And I'm sure some are better than others. And is that what sort of spurred in you, hey, I can do this? Did people ask you to lead them? Like what?
No. They don't ask me. What spurred me to lead them was so many people want to learn about wine in a fun environment, right? Not as a professional, but they're a consumer. So it was with a friend, we decided to create first a champagne trip. How do you discover champagne? Well, you go to Champagne. Right. And we were literally standing on Dom Perignon's grave in Hauteville, France. And we were like, let's do a trip. And we create consumer-focused trips to learn about producers. You taste all this champagne. You do a private shopping experience with me. And it's in a fun, casual, interesting environment.
So, but that's hard to do.
Yes, it is.
I mean, I appreciate what you're doing. But to me, because I've been asked, like people have asked me, they're like, oh, well, if you get a group of 15 people together, you could do a trip, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to be responsible for other people's happiness. So taking that on to me
is a lot.
Is a lot.
Yes.
As a former event planner and like 3 jobs ago, just like you said. I mean, I remember people can't find the bathroom on their own.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So taking on the responsibility of making sure people are having that fun, good time is a huge endeavor.
It is, but you know what? If you flip it around and you look at the joy that they're having, that's the beauty of the trips.
Okay.
The smiles on people's faces, the memories that when they tag you in the wines that they bought and they finally get them in their home and they get to taste them, that's the joy. Okay, yeah, they can't find, or they're hungover, they're exhausted. That's fine. We can find Tylenol. We can find Pedialyte. Right. We can do all that. We can do all those things. But the memories, I'm part of their memory. And that to me is why I do wine.
So how many trips now are you doing a year?
4 to 5.
4. So these are 4 trips.
Yes.
That you and your business partner put together.
Yes.
And where do they go?
Portugal, Champagne, Cognac. I do one with another company through Lyon and Provence. And she and I are actually launching a brand new travel company next year.
Okay.
And that's
so wait, Lyon, Provence, like rosé country?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Lots of rosé. Rosé country. I mean, who doesn't want to go to Provence?
I want to go to Provence.
And look in Saint-Tropez and sit at a chateau drinking rosé and playing in the garden. You're frolicking in a garden.
I would like to go.
I know. I
want to go.
So we do. Those trips are already sold out for 2023. It's crazy.
That's because you don't tell me about the trips.
Well, what happened is we have repeat customers.
I have no doubt.
And they just I don't even remember when the trip is launched because I don't handle the launching part. Next thing I know, I'm like, oh, the trip is sold out. I'm sorry.
Right.
By the time I post it, they're like, the trip is sold out. I'm like, I'm so sorry.
Well, it's an exciting, I'm sure now this really becomes another job.
It becomes another job.
Right. So it's very exciting that this is what comes out of everything, right?
Yes.
Like I always say to people when I launch the list, areyouonit.com, I just was launching information. I just wanted information that I could not find available. And then all these other, I'm sitting here with you today. I mean, all these other things came to me
exactly
because of that one thing. But I didn't know there was no intention for this. There was no intention for a lot of things. Now I'm intentional about what I want.
Exactly.
But back then I was just like, no, I'm just doing this website. And, I love food and I love wine and I want people, and I love DC and I want people to know about what's here and what's available. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like it's in the same way, step A gets you to B gets you to C. Sometimes you jump over D and you get over to E or F or whatever, but there is a path. It's fascinating.
But that's why we're launching a new company, right? The company is not about me. I'm not leading on the trips. Right. What I found was you have all these wine professionals who study a region, study wine, and people want to travel with them, right? They have their own following.
Sure.
They don't know how to put a trip together.
No.
Exactly. So we're creating the trip for them.
Amazing.
So if you're a specialist, I have a specialist in Tuscany. She's leading a Tuscany trip. I'm not leading that trip.
Right.
I'm just coordinating for her. We'll help her promote it. You'll
get the people.
We'll get the people. No, she'll get the people.
Oh.
We handle the logistics. We handle the hotel. We handle all the transportation. She shows up and be fabulous.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, she just leads the wine tasting. We have a tour operator with her. We have a person doing South Africa. We're doing South Africa, Italy, Loire Valley, Azores.
And what is the name of this new company?
Privé Journeys.
Okay.
Because
we'll put that in the show notes.
Every time you travel, no matter if you're with people, you still have a private journey.
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful. All right. I want to get a little gossipy.
Yes.
Before we finish up here. So, given your entree into the hospitality industry, I have great stories about male somms who were really unkind to me.
Yes.
I'm sure you have great stories too.
Yes.
So just for grins, because we can be all positive all the time, but let's do some dirt dishing. So I want to hear about one story about somebody other than the asshole, obviously.
Yeah.
Who just challenged you in a way that was meant to take you down, not a way to raise you up.
Well, it was when you probably get this when you were with your husband at a restaurant.
Oh, yeah. They give the wine list to him.
And I am usually very adamant. He knows nothing about wine. Like, I am very adamant. And you know what I do?
Tell me.
Because instead of going, oh, I'm so sorry, I ask for a new somm and I ask for the manager.
Good for you. God,
I don't
love it.
anymore trying to appease them because they didn't listen to me when I asked for the wine list. So now I want your manager to know that you don't appreciate when a woman asks for a wine list.
Good for you. I love that.
I don't do it anymore. I used to go, okay, it's okay. It's not okay.
No, you're right.
It's not. If I ask for the list, give me the list.
Mm-hmm.
And usually I say he doesn't know anything about wine. Why would you hand it to him when I ask?
Right.
So usually those are the ones who, before, I would feel this need to spend more money on wine.
Right.
To placate that they don't think I know. So I'm going to order something expensive off the list. I don't even do that. That's why I ask for a manager.
Right. I totally understand that.
Yes.
No, my favorite bad Psalm story is... don't roll your eyes, but I'm not a Riesling fan. And I know there are good Rieslings out there, but I'm like,
you don't have to.
I'm like, aren't there lots of other wines?
Yes.
Like lots of other wines. I don't know. Every Psalm is like, oh, I got a Riesling for you. And I'm always like, okay, I mean, can I just have my Rosé or my Chardonnay or whatever the fuck I ordered? Like, I'm always like, I don't understand. But anyway, I was at a wine bar. I'm not going to name it. And the guy was telling me they have all these great Rieslings, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, yeah,
no,
I really don't want the Riesling. I ordered an orange wine, actually. And he came over with 5 glasses. And he said, you tell me which one is the Riesling. And I was like,
what is this, a dog and pony show?
I was like, I should have, had I heard your story, what I should have done is I should have gotten up and left.
Yes.
Because there is no hospitality in challenging me. I'm not a wine expert. I just ordered I just ordered a glass of wine. I mean, anyway, there is something about me when I tell somebody that I don't like a Riesling that it's a challenge to them. It's like they think it's a gauntlet thrown, and I'm like, I don't understand why. There's so many wines in this world. What am I missing?
You're not missing anything. You know what you like and you know what you don't want to drink.
Right.
That is the thing. If someone tells me I don't like champagne, I don't like wine with bubbles, you know what? We have millions of still wines.
Right.
Pick a color and I will give you a wine.
Right.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm not. But that's also not great for the business of wine. It is not great for the business of hospitality.
Right.
Because your job is just to bring me what I ask for.
Right. Well, actually, to that point, it's really funny when you talk about spending more money. That used to be hard for me because my husband would always give me the wine list, or like when I was just at Le Cuckoo, who, by the way, has an amazing Somm. He is
fabulous,
rich. Like, so he came over to me. I pointed out that Chablis, and he's like, "Let me explain the Chablis to you." And he's explaining it to me, and he's like, "Listen, you're not going to like the first sip, but it's going to open up, and it's going to be fabulous."
At least he says something honest,
right? And I said to him, "See those 2 people there, my parents?" I'm like, "My dad loves Chablis, but he's not waiting around to enjoy it." I was like, "Can we find something in this price range?" And he was like, "Sure." So the first wine he gave me was about $200 more than the price range. Now, normally that would have intimidated me. And I would have just said, "Oh, okay, let's do that." But I was like, I really want to stay in this price range. And he was like, "Okay, I gotcha. I can keep you there." And he brought the gorgeous wine. So people always talk about wine being intimidating. I think Somms talk a lot about wine being intimidating. It is really up to them to make it approachable.
Well, it's not approachable. Wine is not approachable in a restaurant. I will say that all the time because if someone says this is my budget and I'm trying to stay within it, your first bottle should always be within that budget. Your second bottle should be within that budget. Not $1 more, not $1 less. And it's one of those things, I think there's a disconnect because people feel like their dollars don't mean anything when they go to a restaurant if they're telling you this is my budget.
Right.
We have to listen to the customer.
No, I do believe
I wish every person in hospitality read Danny Meyer's book, Setting the Table.
It's an amazing
book.
I
think everybody should read that before you go on a floor because you really understand. Because some days your budget is one thing and some days your budget is another thing.
Agreed.
And we have to honor all those. And the customer, it's not about the customer being right.
Right.
It's that we're there for the customer.
I couldn't agree with you more. Okay, since we have to wrap up.
Okay.
One of the things I have to ask you, since I have traveled with you, I call it Julia's travel tips because Julia's got like little things that everybody should need to know when they travel. So you always have stuff in your bag so that you have everything with you when you travel. So what are, let's say, 5 items that you're like, must have when I travel?
Okay, I think you always need a binder clip. And I know that is like the weirdest thing.
That is the weirdest thing.
Because if your luggage breaks or something happens like with a purse strap, you can always binder clip it till you can get to something else.
Okay.
So you always, not a small binder clip, a medium or a large binder clip.
Check. Done.
Check,
Okay.
Right? You always need to carry on many like Tylenol, Advil, any like little emergency kit. Like that's always going to be. You always also need hydration tablets because you're going to be drinking, you're going to be tired, you're going to have all that. And you need to reduce put things down small, right? So you have
I'm also going to say Imodium.
Imodium, yes, traveler, right?
Yes.
And so you always need a mini sunscreen because you never know you're going to use. And also, if you're sitting on a plane flying in the day and you're on a window seat, you need sunscreen.
Good point.
Yeah, because if you're flying on a window, right? You always need that. You always need to know exactly where your hotel is located. And you always need to share a live location with a friend. So in case you're walking by yourself, somebody has an idea where you were last.
Such good advice.
So you always like share your live location. They always need to know where it is. And you always need to have your phone fully charged. And I know people like sometimes let their phone get to like 30%, which freaks me out. You always need to have a fully charged phone.
And a charger.
And a charger to make sure. But you also need to know every escape route of a hotel as a woman. That is my big thing. And make sure that the hotel doesn't put you more than 10 doors from the elevator.
That is such good advice.
Because if you're a woman traveling, you don't want to go around the corner.
Right.
You need to know like you can escape.
Yes.
I know that sounds like really like
no.
I always think that. And make sure they don't announce your room number.
Awesome. No, all of that is very true. When I was young and I was traveling for business in my previous life, they once put me in a room like off in the hinterlands. And I remember walking in and being like, yeah, this doesn't feel safe. Yes. And I went all the way back downstairs and I was like, I need a different room. This is not going to work.
And my last thing for really anyone is to carry many Post-it notes. Like I always have my passport or your ID, a mini Post-it note. In case the room peephole doesn't have a cover, you get to put the Post-it note on top of it.
Okay, look at you. I love it. All right, Julia's travel tips. I love it. All right. Where can we find you? Instagram? Like how do you communicate with people these days?
Everywhere. Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, all at Julia Coney, JuliaConey. All
right.
Good to see you, babe.
Love you.
Love you
okay.
too.
Thanks so much for joining me today. And thank you all for joining us today. Again, we're at the beautiful Wells here as a part of the Duck and the Peach and La Colleen of Hollis Wells Silverman. Please follow me at NYCCINELLIS for all my delicious travels and eats and good things. Check out Foodie and the Beast every Sunday at 11 a.m. on 1500. And of course, follow me at NYCCINELLIS on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the things. Let's see what else. I think that's it. Subscribe to YouTube. Check out what we're doing. And everybody, please be safe out there and have a delicious week.
Produced by Heartcast Media.